here with me to talk about this night is CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris and CBS Sunday morning correspondent Mo Rocca. Of course, my colleague Vladimir Duthier there, rounding out the panel. So, all right, Steve, I want to start with you. This is a very fascinating and a historic role reversal. Former President Bill Clinton made this speech on behalf of his wife, essentially presenting his case in what was hoped to be more personal terms, why she should be president of the United States. Bill Clinton talked about Hillary, the student, the wife, the mother, and the change maker. We saw those signs all throughout the arena.
In the spring of 1971, I met a girl. The first time I saw her, we were, appropriately enough, in a class on political and civil rights. She had thick blonde hair, big glasses, wore no makeup, and she exuded this sense of strength and self-possession that I found magnetic. Then I saw the girl again. She walked the whole length of the library, came up to me and said, "Look, if you're going to keep staring at me," and now I'm staring back, we at least ought to know each other's name. I'm Hillary Rodham. Who are you? I was so impressed and surprised that, whether you believe it or not, momentarily I was speechless. If you love this country, you're working hard, you're paying taxes, and you're obeying the law, and you'd like to become a citizen, you should choose immigration reform over somebody that wants to send you back. If you're a Muslim and you love America and freedom and you hate terror, stay here and help us win and make the future together. We want you. If you're a young African American disillusioned and afraid, we saw in Dallas how great our police officers can be. Help us build a future where nobody's afraid to walk outside, including the people that wear blue to protect our future. Hillary will make us stronger together. You know it because she spent a lifetime doing it. I hope you'll do it. I hope you'll elect her. Those of us who have more yesterdays than tomorrows tend to care more about our children and grandchildren. The reason you should elect her is that in the greatest country on earth, we have always been about tomorrow. Your children and grandchildren will bless you forever if you do. God bless you. Thank you.
All right, Bill Clinton calling Hillary Clinton a change maker. Steve, what did you make of his speech?
Well, first of all, I have to say I was quite surprised. There was really no reference to his record, his presidency. This was all about Hillary Clinton. He got up to a very slow wind-up. I mean, when he started saying 1971, and then it was 1972, and then 1973, it took him about a half an hour to get really to the point, which was you have two people here talking about making change. And his point was, one is real, Hillary Clinton, one is made up, Donald Trump, without saying his name, and then repeated that she's the real change maker. I also thought it was very interesting that Bill Clinton can't give a speech without dropping tomorrow. Right, you remember that was his whole theme when he ran in 1992. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. It just seems like that's the continued theme with Bill Clinton. But overall, you know, if you can condense the first 35 minutes into 5 and then just watch the end of it, I mean, he really got to his point. Really made the real strong point about why Hillary Clinton, in his mind, is the best to run this country. Talked about how she worked with people like Tom DeLay. a Republican, former House Majority Leader, Newt Gingrich, former House Speaker, people who don't really love the Clintons, but she worked with them to get things done in Congress or when she was First Lady. And so really made the argument that she is the most capable of changing things in this country and not Donald Trump.
Mo, what did you think about it?
I think that people still don't know who Hillary Clinton is. She seems unknowable. He presumably is the best person to tell us who she is, and he defined who she is by what she's done. And like JFK was PT-109. George H.W. Bush was a plane crashing the Pacific Ocean. George W. Bush, was overcoming alcoholism. Bill Clinton was the man from Hope who stood up to his abusive stepfather. Hillary Clinton doesn't seem to have that defining episode, so people still don't feel like they know her. What he said is what other people have said. She's a hardworking person who's proved through just decades of work that, on behalf of social justice, what he really emphasized, the earlier part of her career, that's who she is.
He did try to bring up, Mo and Steve, the notion that as a mother, though, there are things perhaps that you might not have realized about
the worrier. I bought that.
Yeah,
I bought that.
And I think
the lining, the things in the...
right.
Yeah,
so
I bought that.
That anecdote seemed to be an attempt to obviously speak to who she was on a more personal level.
And tied it to Michelle Obama yesterday, right, who gave the speech that everybody was talking about last night and today, and basically complimenting both of them on how they mothered their children. And they were great mothers.
What about going after Donald Trump, Steve? What did you make of that? He definitely devoted a good chunk of his remarks to attacking Donald Trump.
Right. Not really by name.
No,
but
not by
definitely,
name.
It was pretty thinly veiled references
Not
to
at all
Donald
veiled,
Trump.
really.
Right. Exactly. I think that's what we expected him to do, make that contrast. And he did it, framing it as who can better change this country, right? And then basically reached out to who he feels are being offended by the things that Donald Trump are saying, whether it's Muslims or immigrants, and saying, join us and let's get Hillary Clinton elected. It was again a good tactic. Whether it'll work or not, it's going to be up to Hillary Clinton. We have all sorts of surrogates talking on behalf of both of these candidates, right? And I asked a lot of the Donald Trump surrogates last week, whenever we had an opportunity to talk to them on CBSN. Great, we hear all these great things about your candidate. Behind the scenes or in person or, off the stump about how wonderful they are, how the family loves them, and how just nice, what great people they are. Yet both Trump and Clinton have high unfavorable ratings among the American voters. What are they not communicating to the voters that all these people seem to see, these character witnesses get up on the stump and say, wow, what wonderful people they're. Seriously, if you just knew these people like we know them, they're just the best ever. Yet the voters don't see this. There's some miscommunication going on. So Bill Clinton can say this. Chelsea Clinton will say it on Thursday when she's introducing her mother. Yet Hillary Clinton still needs to close the deal. She needs to make the sale, and just like Donald Trump does on the other side. The
most emotional moment of the day, and it really almost made me cry, was Bernie Sanders' brother. When Bernie Sanders' brother talked about their parents and Bernie Sanders started weeping, politics aside, it is an incredibly moving moment. And I don't think that stuff is unimportant. I think the personal engagements that these people have say a lot about their values and who they are. And the Bill Clinton speech was thorough. And I like that he said, I married my best friend, because that felt honest. I'm not sure that I bought the whole thing about him, there were open questions about why she wouldn't accept the proposal. And I kept thinking, I wonder what that's about. But no one has been able to speak about her in that kind of emotional way that makes you understand the kinds of personal connections she has with people. I don't think.
Well, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, I'm always astounded by the fact that a lot of Americans feel as if they have to know the personal lives of a politician for them to be not the personal. Yeah, you probably don't want to know everything about what they do. But I think that it's interesting that for a lot of voters, that becomes a defining characteristic of a candidate, whether or not they're relatable. There was this whole meme that started. Who do you want to have a beer with? I, as somebody who spent a lot of my life living abroad, I've noticed that a lot of other countries, people in other countries, don't have those same attitudes of their leaders. They don't, you know, when I was living in France, Jacques Chirac was president of France. Nobody wanted to hang out and have a beer or a glass of wine with Jacques Chirac. They wanted him to lead the country, be the president, deal with the international issues, deal with domestic issues, and whether or not he liked beer or he didn't was not an issue for them.
I think that's a good point, but I do think that I don't know, I kind of think your friendships, your relationships with your family say a lot about your character and also how you deal with the struggle. Look, I'm not saying that Hillary Clinton needs to get into her personal life and what happened in the 90s, which, of course, are skipped over.
Although we did see David Schwimmer, which referenced the 90s. So the Democrats have their own shot sheet.
Seriously go straight from 1997 to 2000.
like there. But, you know, I mean, I guess I'm asking, would it be interesting to hear her to hear her say how she dealt with that and what that meant to her, or this is why I won't talk about it? I don't know.
All right, I want to go back to something you mentioned a moment ago, Mo. The moment when Senator Sanders, his brother, it was an emotional, clearly an emotional moment for this crowd. In fact, let's play the sound from Senator Sanders, essentially fully getting behind Hillary Clinton during the roll call. Let's listen in.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I move that the convention suspend the procedural rules. I move that all votes cast by delegates be reflected in the official record. And I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party for President of the United States.
All right, so that was the choreographed part of it, but the moment that Mo was referring to, if we can play that right now, let's talk about both moments on the other side. Let's go ahead and play that. There, Senator Sanders' brother.
I want to bring before this convention the names of our parents, Eli Sanders and Dorothy Glassberg Sanders. They did not have easy lives, and they died young. They would be immensely proud of their son and his accomplishments. They loved him.
Democrats.
They loved the New Deal of Franklin Roosevelt, and we'd be especially proud that Bernard is renewing that vision. It is with enormous pride that I cast my vote for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, that was a moment. And if what you're saying is true, Mo, that moment there with Bernie's brother talking about their family, their parents like that, in just those 30 seconds, humanized Bernie Sanders to a level we probably didn't see all night with some of the speeches that were made on Hillary Clinton's behalf. Kind of, yeah. Right there, and also you get a vision of the parents, hardworking, and you know what, how they inspired their own son, probably. But look, I think that Bill Clinton's speech it's incredibly impressive, right? The life that Hillary Clinton has led and all that she's done, and he perhaps does a better job of explaining it than she has. Well, there was one line also that has not been touched upon. I'm following social media and seeing the lines that people are tweeting, and they're sort of the common ones, the one that you talked about, that what the other side is saying is not true. This is. But one thing that I think that was interesting is that Bill Clinton said, Hillary has been in public service doing things for this country for many, many years. It's not something she just decided to do, thereby, again, hinting at what perhaps Donald Trump, who maybe somebody might consider a dilettante, is all of a sudden deciding to do. It doesn't mean that people who haven't held public office or have not served in a way should not run, but he's cutting that contrast. But I also might add that could cut both ways, right? Right. Remind a lot of people why they might not like Hillary Clinton. She has been out there and polarized. She's a polarizing figure and has been for a very, very long time, basically since Bill Clinton became president. Basically they were running together. Right. I think there are people out there who look at this and are probably shaking their fists at Bill Clinton as he's giving this speech, like reminding them why they don't like Hillary Clinton. Yeah. Right? So we'll see what happens. I mean, this is part of her problem, is she's been so defined over the last 25 years. And I'm not sure that there's much that Bill Clinton and others can do to sort of redefine her, maybe to people who don't necessarily know her as well. And I think that's why it was very interesting when you saw her video. It then zoomed out, and she was with a lot of younger type people and spoke to younger voters and said, look, this is what I've done. This is what I'm doing. I'm breaking this glass ceiling for you.
that is, I think, an outreach to people who weren't there in the 90s, who witnessed what was going on with the Clintons. And I think that's maybe what they feel is an opportunity for them to sort of change some minds.
All right, I want to move on to another issue, because as this convention was unfolding, the New York Times published a story talking about Julian Assange essentially purposely timing, he claims, the leak of these emails by the Democratic National Committee. This hacking story. Julian Assange spoke to ITV. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
Plainly, what you are saying and what you've been publishing hurts Hillary Clinton. Would you prefer Trump to be president?
Well, I think Trump is a completely unpredictable phenomenon. You can't predict what he would do in office. You can predict a bit more what the Republican Party would do in office. From my personal perspective, well, you know, the emails we published show that Hillary Clinton is receiving constant updates about my personal situation. She has pushed for the prosecution of WikiLeaks, which is still in train. So we do see her as a bit of a problem.
All right. So, you know, Steve, obviously, so that interview was back on June 12th. But the question now is, what else could be there? Because obviously, you know, he is making it known, as he made known there, he clearly does not like Hillary Clinton. There are a couple of reasons for that, one of which he laid out there. How concerning could this be for the Clinton campaign?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people feel that this, what happened over the weekend, is a warning shot. I mean, this is a guy who has these emails. He dropped them at a very, very calculated time to affect this convention, and it resulted in the chairwoman of the committee, the DNC, resigning. That's pretty effective timing for what he did. And so the thinking is, well, what else does this guy have? When is he going to drop it? And how damaging could it be? Is this something that he's going to wait until October, right before the election, to drop? And who's it going to affect? Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump? And what is the magnitude of this? So there've got to be a lot of worried people. If you look at what just happened as a warning shot, like, this could really shake up the election if it's something bigger than forcing the DNC chairwoman to resign.
At the same time, we don't know, Mo. We have no idea. It could just be a bluff.
Right, exactly. It could just be an empty threat.
Yeah, so what, I mean, if you're the Clinton campaign right now, Steve, what is it that
what are you going to do? You can't, what can you do?
We're all
right?
going to be hacked eventually.
You just have to.
Don't gossip on your CBS News account. I'm telling you,
it is
you
astounding
save it for
to me
Gmail.
how many people don't know that. How many people don't know not to use their company phones and company emails for personal use? And I mean, it's astounding to me that it's still something you have to tell people.
There are some people, I'm not going to name any at work, that are using their computers, and I'm like, you know what they're using it for? I'm like, are you nuts? Are you doing this?